Billion people on the planet, according to the United Nations. Lana Zak joins me now with more on what this means for the global population.
Hey there, John. This is just how historic a landmark this is. It took 125 years to reach 2 billion people on the planet, but it took just 12 years for us to add 1 more billion, bringing us now to 8 billion people worldwide. So we want to look at where some of the biggest shifts are happening. Next year, India will become the most populous nation in the world, surpassing even China. And by 2050, India will have 300 million more people than China. And that means more pressure on a region that already struggles with resources. In fact, here's a staggering statistic for you. India is home to a quarter of all the undernourished people worldwide right now. And more than half of the projected increase of the population over the next 30 years is going to be coming from just 8 countries. They are, in addition to India, Pakistan, Philippines, Tanzania, Ethiopia, Egypt, Nigeria, and the Democratic Republic of Congo. As you can tell, some of the most rapid growth is expected in sub-Saharan Africa. The population there is expected to double over the next 30 years, reaching 2 billion people. And the growth rate is projected to surpass even Eastern and Southern Asia, in part because family size is a big factor. Women in sub-Saharan Africa have on average 4.6 births. That's twice the current global average. The UN says that the region is about to enter a period of demographic dividend, which means that the large working age population will create rapid economic growth for sub-Saharan Africa. This is especially important since 1/3 of the world's droughts actually occur there, and parts of this region are also affected by food insecurity due to strained resources and climate change. Well, let's talk about the areas of the world that are going to see an actual drop in people. That is Europe and North America. They are going to reach their peak population growth by about the late 2030s and then start to decline, especially as the current population gets older. Let's talk about us here in North America. By 2050 in Europe and North America, 1 out of every 4 people will be over the age of 65. Our graphics team having a little bit of fun with that. But in all seriousness, it means more pressure on existing healthcare systems and fewer individuals contributing to the economy. And this is why the UN says, quote, the sole driver in population growth of high-income countries over the next several decades will be because of migration. And of course, climate change is going to impact migration as well. If you look to the Philippines, for example, the population there will grow rapidly, but the sea level is also rising. And that means that there will be less land for all these people.
Shalom, Kahala Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahshai, Ba'Shem Kokwadash. Double honors my teachers, the apostles and elders of Great Millstone. Peace and mercy to the elect, where the house of David be born again in this generation. And Shalom to the 1/3 Yasharallah, who today are known as the Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans, who before losing our true heritage, we were known as, and still are, the true Hebrew Israelites of the Holy Bible. In today's lesson, we're going to talk about how humanity, or the world's population, has now reached 8 billion. Okay? But before we get into that, let's read this. This is 2 Ezra's 8:1. And he answered me, saying, the Most High hath made this world for many, but the world to come for few. And as you heard in that report, the earth has now reached 8 billion people, right? This is Esau's nightmare. You see, Esau, when I say Esau, I'm talking about the so-called Caucasian race, because biblically and accurately, they are known as the nation of Edom. You could also refer to them as Edomites, right? You see, they are currently the rulers of the world, okay? And they believe that the end is not going to come, right? Or at least they believe that they'll be able to kill God off and basically continue to rule the world and forever, right? This is why they're doing everything they're doing right now, right? To try to kill off the majority of humanity by controlling birth rates, issuing certain type of potions and whatnot, and basically simply just make people infertile. Now, as you can see, that hasn't really helped. Now, we can definitely see the effect of what these Edomites are doing, right? For example, you can see what's recently hit the headline, right? It says global decline in sperm counts is accelerating, research finds, right? So Esau, right, is doing everything he can to get this number to go down. Now, as you've seen in the report, they said that here in North America that the population growth is going to peak around 2030, and then basically around 2050 it's going to start to decline. Now, what they don't tell you is that the reason why it's going to peak is because of the social conditioning and the efforts, or should I say great efforts and lengths that these Edomites are going to control world population, right? And why is that? Well, because they want the world to not be used up by what they refer to the rest of us as useless eaters, right? They believe that we are the useless masses that they now have to simply sedate and basically pacify with endless entertainment, endless drama, so that way we basically are caught up in the everyday machinations of daily modern life, which is ultimately going to leave us childless, in debt, and ultimately just serving the elites. Now, the thing is that without the Lord's help, this is the future that not only the entire world, but namely us Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans, who are the true Israelites, would be faced with, right? And eventual extinction. Because you see, even though the world's population is at 8 billion right now, the end goal that these Edomites want to get the world population to is 500 million. Now, what that means is that basically 7.5 billion people have to be put out of their misery. Now, Esau, from everything that he's released, through their biographies, their symposiums, or whatnot, have made it clear that they're in for the long haul, right? This is why they're going to wait for the entire population to either die off through starvation, calamities, wars, euthanasia, or infertility, right? And then at the end, they believe that they're going to arise as the phoenix, right? The bird that rises out of the ashes. Well, that's what they're ultimately hoping for. Okay. Now, other countries like China, India, or basically the nations that are joined onto the BRICS, nation, are starting to rebel against this. Okay. And why is that? Well, because they understand that Esau is building a world which, even though Esau is saying there's a place for them, it's very obvious that there's not, right? And when you get into the particular group within the Edomite nation, the top tribe, that being the so-called Jews, or biblically Amalek, Amalek has it in his mind to basically mix all nations together, right? Race mixing, so that we become what they refer to as a mixed Mongoloid people who are so dumbed down, and they themselves would be the purebloods, and hence would rule the world, through their superior intellect, right? This is their plan, right? Now, again, if you see all the refugees and the immigrants being pushed into different nations, namely the European, Caucasian, or the rest of the Edomite nations, now you understand why this is happening, right? Because Amalek is at war with the rest of his nation, Esau, right? Hence fulfilling the prophecy that the Lord will put the Egyptian against the Egyptians, right? The nation of Edom being the modern day Egyptians, right? Now, that being said, in part of all this growth of humanity, Esau has created a system to basically start charging everybody to live, right? Before, everybody had to simply just work to live, right? If you wanted to exist here upon earth, you had to do some sort of labor, right, or some sort of work to make your way, right? Yes, there's exceptions to some rules. There's people who live in the outskirts, live off of the land and whatnot, but these are the exceptions, again, not the rule. Well, now Esau is going to change this up with the new normal, the new world order, and he's now going to basically put everybody under a social credit system. That's all going to be tied to your usage of the world, right? Your carbon footprint, right? And just this last week, they had the COP27, which is basically it's an environmental, symposium for the UN and all the world nations, where they all have basically agreed to start accepting money for violations of carbon usage, right? And we're already starting to see New Zealand, right, with that evil dictator woman, Jacinda, whatever. Her New Zealand and also Canada they've had banks who are now starting to link their bank members' accounts to carbon usage. Nothing crazy right now, but they're simply letting people know that from your reported bank usage, how much money you're using, this is how much carbon usage you are projected of using. Now, right now, it's simply just a statistic, but down the road, this is something that Esau is going to want to use. But again, just like right now, they're showing all these nations, right? Qatar, which is it's funny, right? Qatar is in the news lately because of they're going to hold the World Cup and stuff, and obviously if you don't realize the scandal behind that is it's an Arab nation or Ishmaelite nation that basically bought or bribed the World Cup bosses to basically hold it there 12 years ago, right? But either way, I'm not digressing, but right here you can see all the list of countries, right? America is right here, showing how much carbon they're using, right? And this shows you. Check this out, man. Look at China. It's plus 181%, right? So this is the big problem here, right? If you break all this down, right here shows all the countries who are reducing their usage or either increasing it, right? United Kingdom, you can see they're making a big dent, and this is ultimately just a system that Esau is for the most part, setting up so that way when he brings in these carbon or the social credit system, it'll be tied to something, right? And this ultimately we all know is going to be tied to the mark of the beast down the road. But ultimately, just to give you an idea, the world right now, for a total, we're increasing carbon usage by 13%, right? So this just shows you, man, that this world is busting at the seams, right? At least according to Esau's matrix. Now, there's no real such thing as overusage of the world. It's really more about that the world is just simply not managed properly, right? The Lord Himself said that He will. One day He's going to put somebody who is profitable over the world in charge, right? Meaning that right now the world is ran by the devils, right? So says Job 9:24, the earth is given into the hand of the wicked, that wicked being the Edomite nation, which again, if you are not blind, you can see what's happened to the world these last 200 years for the most part, how it's basically been ran into the ground by Esau. Not because there isn't enough, simply, but more accurately is that the elites, the Edomites, just are never satisfied, right? And there's just mountains upon mountains of waste. Things are done inefficiently, and ultimately it's all done for the profit and not for the well-being of the people, right? See, this is what it means to have the devil in power, right? Where basically profits are put in front of people's lives. Now, that being said, let's go and read this right here, 2nd Ezra 9, right? We're going to read basically a few chapters here, 15 to 22, where Uriel was explaining to Ezra basically the course of the earth, right? And how the earth is going to eventually produce all these people, but out of all this growth of people, that ultimately the end goal at the very end is to get a particular small group of people, right? And why is that? Well, because, let's read it. This is 2nd Ezra 9 and 15. I have said before, and now do speak, and I will speak it also thereafter, that there be many more of them which perish than of them which shall be saved. like as a wave is greater than a drop? And he answered me, saying, like as the field is, so is also the seed. As the flowers be, such are the colors also. Such as the workman is, such also is the work. And as the husbandman is himself, so is his husbandry also. For it was the time of the world. And now, when I prepared the world, which was not yet made, even for them to dwell in that now live, no man spake against me. Right? So again, remember, the Lord made this world for everything that is going on right now. So again, this 8 billion population is all designed of the Lord, right? And just to let you know, man, the number 8, it's a spiritual number, right? Because 8 means infinite, right? The whole infinity sign, 8, but it also means glory, okay? So that just gives you an idea, you know, something to ponder upon. Now, this right here shows you, man, that the Lord designed this earth to take care of all the souls that are on it, right? Now, it may not be that, you know, that the Lord didn't design it to perpetually exist in the way that it currently exists, because again, this right now is as if you have a fine, sports car that's manual transmission, and then you have some teenager, you know, who doesn't even know how to drive a manual transmission, who's grinding all the gears, making the car hop, start, stall, hopping, grinding, and eventually, the motor is going to start burning. Of course, the teenager who's unexperienced, who isn't really meant to even be driving that car, is going to say, "Hey, this car is broken. It's not going to work anymore. We need to put an automatic transmission in here. We got to tear this out. We got to, do this. We got to change this around." And that's kind of like the analogy of what's going on right now, right? You have the drivers of this world saying that this world can't sustain everybody here. But again, those same drivers are the ones who are grinding the gears, stalling the motor, who are, basically the corrupted, seed upon the earth, which are causing the majority of the problems. Because again, who are the people who own these factories, who own these oil refineries? That's not your average Negro, Latino, Native American, right? It's not even your average, Edomite, so-called Caucasian person. It is the elites at the very top, right? They are the ones who are destroying the world, but are now, telling everybody, "Hey, we're all in on this," right? No, bro. I was like, what do you mean by we? Do you have a turd in your pocket? No, we have nothing to do with this. We're like the elder brother Manat Zakba said, man. Oh, hey, we just work here, right? Because we're not here, man. We're not here on vacation. We're not here to live. We're simply here under captivity, working for you devils, man. And that's the truth about it, man. So let's get back to this. This is back in verse 19. For then everyone obeyed, but now the manner of them which are created in this world, that is made, are corrupted by a perpetual seed, and by a law which is unsearchable, rid themselves. You see that? So the people who are now being born into this world, not only are they not under the law of the Bible, right? That being the Israelites who are being born, right? But also just the other heathens that the Bible doesn't even cover, right? But ultimately, these are corrupted seeds, right? These are the people who are rejected. Now, what do I mean by that? Well, let's go into the Bible family tree. Let's bring this out over here, right? You got the 18 nations, right? Which again, all started, let's let that in, from, God, Adam, Eve, you know the story. Cain killed Abel. The Lord gave Seth to Adam and Eve, and then from there goes the bloodline, right? And then we know about the story of Noah and his 3 sons, Ham, Shem, and Japheth. And from these 3 sons come basically the 18 nations, right? So again, all the seeds, the corrupted seeds, are people from Aram, the Ammonites, right? The Ashur, the Japhites, right? The Elamites, all the Hamites, right? These are all seeds which were rejected, which were basically not chosen, right? A perfect example is right here where the Lord chose Peleg over Joktan, right? So Joktan and that line there, they were the corrupted seeds for the most part. They were the seeds that were rejected. And ultimately, again, when you go down, you go to Terah. Terah then had Abraham, because again, God chose Abraham and not Nahor or Haran, right? These are the this is what it means, right? All the descendants of upon the earth today are the Israelites, which you see here in blue, which represents the 12 tribes, and all of the other 17 nations, which are all in these groups here, right? This red group here being Edom, this green group being Ishmael, the Hamites up here, the Japhites up here, and these two sections here being China and Japan, or Moab and Ammon, right? So these are all the other people who are born into this world. It says, verse 20, so I considered the world, and behold, there was peril because of the devices that were come into it. And what are some of these devices? Well, some of those devices are things like the whole alphabet movement, right? Which is ultimately a device to stop people from having babies, right? Other things like you look at abortion, for example, right? That's tricked so many people into thinking that's more about a choice and not about killing off your seed, man. Which is, again, a lot of people have been taken by that, man. And again, who started that? Well, look at no further than these Edomites, right? Margaret Sanger, who was the proponent of Planned Parenthood, man, created Planned Parenthood for the cause to weed out the weeds of the human genome, that being the Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans, right? She was not coy about what she was trying to do, okay? And you see these policies being performed today. And there's so many different things like war, corruption, interest, and all these different things, right, that have come into this world to bring so much chaos and destruction, right? That's what this is talking about. Verse 21, and I saw and spared it greatly, and have kept me a grape of a cluster and a plant of a great people, right? And what is that? Grape of a cluster and a plant of a great people. That means when you go back to that family tree that we just seen, that means that out of all the 18 nations upon the earth, the Lord has only chosen a small group of people. And why is that? Well, because the Lord has been working very hard to weed out the undesirable traits in these other people. Okay? Verse 22. Let the multitude perish then, which was born in vain, and let my grape be kept, and my plant, for with great labor have I made it perfect. Right? So when I said regarding the family tree that the Lord chose one son over another, or one people over the other, this is what it means, that the Lord has done a very much work to basically make his plant perfect. That being to choose to get the perfect group of people, that being us Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans. That we're going to be those people who the Lord has chosen, and everybody else, what's going to happen to them? Well, let's read about it. This 2 Ezra 7 and 42. He answered me and said, this present life is not the end, where much glory doth abide. Therefore have they prayed for the weak. But the day of doom shall be the end of this time, and the beginning of immortality for to come, wherein corruption is past, intemperance is at an end, infidelity is cut off, righteousness is grown, and truth is sprung up. Then shall no man be able to save him that is destroyed, nor to oppress him that hath gotten the victory. And this is ultimately where we're going to. So all these people out there, man, it doesn't matter how many people are in a nation. Their numbers don't mean anything, okay? It doesn't matter that there's 1.42 billion people in China, or 1.441 billion in India, right? It doesn't matter, because what matters is that the Lord has chosen a particular group of people, that being the Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans, and anybody whose father's lineage goes back to that bloodline, which would make them an Hebrew Israelite, right? And we have gotten the victory, okay? So we are going to be those people who are going to be permitted to go into this next world, right? Where it says the world which comes after this one, right? Because what does it say about this current world? This present life is not the end, okay? Because the next life is going to be where immortality for it to come, right? Where we're going to basically live forever, and we're going to be in that state of gods on earth, okay? So that's what's going on right now. And all these people who are upon the face of the earth, they're simply here to be judged. Now, again, not everybody is going to be killed, but what it tells you in the Bible that 1/3 of humanity will die off, right? That 1/3 being the sons of the devil, right? These Edomites, predominantly, right, are going to be basically killed off, right? And them and all the evil people who have joined onto them and helped them and shit, right? Now, that being said, when the earth goes through this, day of doom, as it tells you, as read in the scriptures, the next world to come is going to be, ultimately heaven on earth. But again, we have to go through all these growing pains, which literally means people are going to have to be born in great numbers, upon the earth for that judgment when the Lord comes back. So hopefully this video was edifying. Until the next time, I want to give all honor and glory and praises to Yahweh, Ba'Shem Yahushai, Ba'Shem Rukok Radash. Double honors my teachers, the apostles and elders, great millstone. Peace and mercy to the elect. Shalom.